y'all for my niece. I didn't think I'd need this. Which my,
It helps to turn it on.
how to work yourself? Hello. Okay. All right, I'm from the old school. I don't know all this technology stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna try to follow protocols as my niece have informed me to do so. So to my best ability. So thank you everyone for coming to celebrate my brother Dan's homecoming going, and hope this be a joyful occasion and not make it as, you know, like a sad occasion, because, you know, he was almost 88 years old. He was almost 88 years old. He's in the shy of a couple of months, I think. But anyway, now I'm gonna add this to that. There's one scripture that says in the 90th number of the song, the 10th verse, it said that your days and years are as 70, and by the grace of God, you may make 80. So he almost made that 80, being that a score is 10 years. So saying that 70 years, you put a full life, if God is willing, you have made 90 years. So he was almost there. So this is a celebration for his life. Now, you know, down in New Orleans, when people live that long, they celebrate going through the street, have a parade, dancing and all that kind of stuff. So this is really a celebration, and for my brother. And thank you for that. So along with that, I'm gonna go on with my niece that ordered me to do so. Okay, so reading the obituary. So y'all can take the obituary out and follow me along. And Daniel Leroy Inman was the first child born to Ruth and Willie Mae McLean after 9 years of marriage. They then went on to have 7 other children. He used his newspaper to inform the African American community on the Georgia-Florida line and an advocate for civil rights. Inman also marched with the Atlanta civil rights icons. He volunteered with many local and national political campaigns, including Mayor Maynard Jackson, successful run for mayor of Atlanta. He moved to Decatur in 1976 and volunteered with the Jose Williams in the Jose Feed the Hungry and Homeless. Inman was born in tiny Quitman. Now they say tiny, they about like Thomasville, I guess. He moved to Quitman, which is between Valdosta and Thomasville, on March 27, 1937. He died January 8, 2025. He was 87 years old. He started the Thomasville News in 1967 and later published the Tallahassee, I didn't know that, Tallahassee News for a short time in Florida. The Thomasville paper closed in 1976. It then included the following tagline in every issue: to seek out the truth and print it without real favors. Inman became a member of the National
Newspaper Publishing Association / Black Press of America. During this time on the NNPA / Black Press, he had the opportunity to meet and interview President Lyndon B. Johnson. I like it, and later on, I'm gonna mention that. President Jimmy Carter. Inman would have other opportunities through the NNPA / Black Press, including traveling to Russia. I didn't know he went to Russia. Traveling to Russia. I didn't know that. An experience he would hold dear until his death. However, some of his proudest moments came with the civil rights movement. He marched along with the late Martin Luther King Jr., Jose Williams, Andrew Young, and Julius Bond. He never left behind his love for politics. He was involved in politics until the very end. While in Thomasville, Inman worked with the state and local voters league, and also served in 1972 as the Southeastern Young Campaign Manager for Shirley Chisholm, the first black candidate and first woman to run for major party nominated for the president. Inman involved with Democrat president campaign, including those of Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Henry Rodham Clinton, Barack Obama.
Gave it to me, I hate it, because you're my mom.
Y'all can't hear
My
me?
dad. Okay, and the boy you super coffee.
What did I do wrong? Okay. Preceding Inman's death were two of his children, Jacqueline Christian, Daniel L. Inman Jr., also preceding him in death with brothers Samuel Inman and sister Rose Inman. He said Rose Inman Turner. He lived to cherish his memory. Gloria Thornton Inman of Atlanta, his wife for 63 years. His wife for 63 years and a former teacher of the Thomasville school system. His children, Gerald Inman, Carol, John, Maurice Inman, Dodie, Keith Inman, Kashina. Is that right, Christina? Christina, Greg Walker, Rosalind, and Danette Mincy Terry, and his sibling Hattie Anderson Merrill, Loretta James, Thomas Inman, Thomas Inman, Elizabeth, Christine Bean Jesse, Nathaniel Inman Maddie, sister-in-law Helen, and brother-in-law Eric. He also leaves a host of grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces, nephews, relatives, and friends he definitely loved. Okay, so and that's what Dodie told me to do. I don't know what I did it, good or bad, but y'all can criticize. Was that able effort or able effort? Okay, all right. Then we have presentation of different people. And first off, start off with Mr. Paul Fry with the Congregational Bishop presentation. Then we're going to have Terry Mincy And then we're gonna have Darth Inman, Michael Thomas, James Ryan, Ben Hatchett, and then that's gonna be me, all right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fry.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Inman, appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be with all of you here today. I did not know Mr. Inman personally, but the congressman sends his condolences to the family, and he has written a letter, a personal letter, which to the family, and I will read a portion of it at this time. Congressman Bishop wrote this letter. It's dated February 8th, but he signed it, so it says, Mr. Inman was a servant to humanity. It has been said that service is the rent that we pay for the space that we occupy on this earth. And you know who said that? Shirley Chisholm. The lady that he was her Southeast campaign manager. Mr. Inman paid his rent, and he paid it well, advocating tirelessly in a number of civil rights marches in Atlanta, Thomasville, and surrounding areas, and being an unwavering voice in the dark. He brought hope to those who felt lost and stood as a beacon of loyalty and integrity. And so that's a portion of the letter that Congressman Bishop wrote. And let me add, I just came from an event in Attapolis, Georgia, which is a little bit southwest of here in Decatur County. That's the home of Hosea Williams. And they had an event honoring him, and there was a Judge Cooper, who was from Tuskegee, Alabama, that was raised in Attapolis and knew the family, and he came and spoke at an event just now honoring Hosea Williams. So there's a connection certainly between Hosea Williams and Mr. Inman, and they were colleagues and friends and worked together. So it's my pleasure at this time to read this. The Congressman has dedicated this to the family. This is a certificate of special congressional recognition presented by Congressman Sanford D. Bishop Jr. to Mr. Daniel L. Inman posthumously in recognition of outstanding achievement, service, and public distinction. Signed this February 8th, 2025, Sanford D. Bishop Jr., Member of Congress. So at this time, I'll present that to, can I present to?
Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, let me present it to your mama, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
First and foremost, I am Terry Mincy and Dio, this is my father-in-law. I'm joined here today with my family, the Honorable Judge Danette Mincy, my son, and University of Clemson freshman Julian Mincy, and last but certainly not least, my lovely daughter, Olivia Grace Mincy. I'm going to read a memorial letter from the U.S. House of Representatives. To family and friends of Mr. D.L. Inman, as you gather to say farewell and celebrate the life of Mr. Daniel L. Inman, my wife, Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson, and I offer our condolences and prayers. Our hearts are with you today. To the members of the Inman family, thank you for sharing Daniel with us. Mr. Inman was one of Georgia's greatest citizens. He was a community activist, a political organizer, a stellar businessman, and a civil rights champion who served the city of Thomasville, Georgia with distinction and honor. He was a warrior for the downtrodden, a strategist for politicians on all levels, and a community servant who always gave 100% to the people. His tagline in every issue of the Thomasville News was monumental: to seek out the truth and print it without fear or favor. I'm going to read that again for effect. To seek out the truth and print it without fear or favor. We are better for Mr. Daniel Inman having passed our way. We pause today to give thanks for his life and his many contributions to the uplifting of his family, community, and the nation. With admiration and gratitude for a well-lived life, I remain very truly yours, Congressman Henry Hank Johnson, Georgia's 4th Congressional District. Thank you.
Dorothy?
Good afternoon. We are here to celebrate the life of a truly great man and a trailblazer. And I want his siblings, his children, his nieces and nephews to know what a wonderful person D.L. was. I always called him Daniel. I'm Dorothy Inman Johnson, and I am associated with the family as the ex-wife of Samuel Inman, D.L.'s younger brother, who preceded him in death. And when I met Sam, he was the distribution manager for the Thomasville News and the Tallahassee News in Tallahassee. And he would drive this big Volkswagen van with all of the newspapers. I was pretty impressed. I was even more impressed with Daniel. He was a trailblazer, being the first Black-owned newspaper publisher in Thomasville. And to carry the word on Black life throughout the nation, not just in Thomasville. He was well respected by the press and the publishing community. We now have in Tallahassee the Capital Outlook newspaper, but D.L. published the Tallahassee News long before Steve Beasley got the notion to create the Capital Outlook, which is the Black newspaper for Tallahassee. I was impressed. I went online just to find out what he had been about after he left Thomasville and moved up to the Atlanta area. And not only was he a renowned publisher here, but he carried that ingenuity and that skill to Atlanta, where obviously there were plenty of people to compete with, and he stood out even there. I was interested that the previous speaker talked about his tagline, because that caught my attention. To seek out the truth and print it without fear or favor. He was not afraid to speak truth to power. And he worked for the betterment, not just of the community he lived in, but for the nation to the end. I was interested in the fact that he even worked for the Kamala Harris campaign through November. And that says something, because at 87, there are a lot of young people who are not that dedicated to be out there trying to make sure those who need are taken care of by electing the right people to office. So I thank DL. I thank him with all of my heart, because he was a light in the dark for the Black community. When he had his papers, most of the time you didn't hear anything about the Black community unless it was bad in the major newspaper. He was the one who made sure that the real Black community had light shine on it. And the good that all of us do was paid attention to. And I am so proud, even though I have not been married, and his sister-in-law with his brother Sam since the late 80s, I will consider myself in the Inman family for the rest of my life. Married to a wonderful minister now, but my name is Inman Johnson, and I plan to carry it the rest of my life. Thank you.
Good afternoon. To the bereaved family and friends. It is an honor to have been asked by Mrs. Inman to come and share in this special occasion that the family has arranged to memorialize their loved one. I would also consider it a time of celebration for the life and legacy of Mr. D.L. Inman. It is almost impossible for me to stand here and talk about Mr. Inman without talking about Mrs. Inman. As it is said, beside every great man is a great woman. I got to meet Mr. Inman through Mrs. Inman, who was my amazing fourth grade teacher. So Ms. Inman, I'm not dating you or myself. Mrs. Inman was a young teacher. She came into the profession very young, and she was someone that really loved her profession. During those days, when I was in elementary school, most of the teachers truly loved their profession and sincerely cared about the children being the best that we could be, that we could become. I was fortunate enough to be one of those students that received special consideration from Mrs. Inman, to the extent of being able to visit her home on numerous occasions. In doing so, I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Inman. I remember him as being a very mild-mannered and intentional in his conversations with me. He took the opportunity and time to pour into me his passion for community and family unity. He showed me how a Black businessman looked and functioned during those challenging times we lived in. As we all know, he was the owner and editor of the Thomasville News. During that time, it was also known as the Black newspaper. He introduced me to the aspects of entrepreneurship and sales. which is what I have been fortunate enough to do for the past 30+ years. During the 50th reunion of my high school class in the past month, back in August, I was surprisingly blessed to be reunited with Mr. and Mrs. Inman. They were invited to our class reunion, and I had not seen them since my 4th grade year. I got the opportunity to thank Mr. Inman and to reflect back on the job he gave me as selling and delivering his newspapers. I recall the paper cost 10 cents. And he and I were able to negotiate a deal of a 50-50 split. I got a nickel and he got a nickel. But it was an opportunity for me to learn how to earn. And he, shared with me a whole lot of other things about business. I learned that before he started the newspaper business, he was in the business of selling insurance, which is the business I have been in for the past 30+ years as an independent broker and entrepreneur. So again, our lives were like full circle. He gave me my first opportunity to get into sales, and I watched him as a businessman, and then at our class reunion, he shared with me that he had been in the insurance business prior to the newspaper business. And I'm like, wow, that's what I do now. And so it was just so amazing, and it was so heartfelt to be able to meet with him and Mrs. Inman again. So in closing, I want to again thank you, Mrs. Inman, for the lifetime impact you and your husband have made on my life. To the entire family, you have so much to be thankful for and proud of. I want to share a Latin phrase. The phrase is quod erat demonstratum. That means which was to be demonstrated. It is the finite proof of something being what it is. Mr. Inman was a great example, or should I say, his life and the accomplishments he made during his lifetime demonstrates what Black male excellence should look like. So we honor Mr. Daniel L. Inman for the legacy he leaves for us to cherish and celebrate. Again, Mrs. Inman, I will always be grateful to you and your family. Thank you.
Thank all of you for those comments. I have one more.
Okay, Mr. Hatch.
Yes, me. Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone. To Mrs. Gloria Inman, distinguished members, children, grandchildren, brothers, sisters, all family members of the Inman family. Say good evening. D.L. Inman and I came through the hard thing. I came back from Detroit, Michigan, 1966 and started a funeral home. I had worked for a big funeral home in Detroit that buried Reverend C.L. Franklin, Aretha Franklin, some of the high-profile people. So I wanted to bring that here back to Thomasville. D.L. came a year behind me in 1966 selling insurance. I was trying to remember whether they allowed life for Pilgrim, but I know it was a Black insurance company. Back during those days, people left the money in the book. But an insurance man, I had some way to hide it, but an insurance man, didn't nobody bother it. That was good days now. So late along, Mr. Inman, I believe it was a room back during those days, school teachers, people came down, didn't have the luxury apartment like young teachers have today. They had a room with somebody. I think Mr. Inman was rooming Mr. Beulah Bush. And Inman had got on attack for the insurance money, spending their money, time to check up. He didn't have it. So he said he went and talked to Miss Bush. Miss Bush said, well, boy, I'll help you, but you can't let me down. Inman went to the commercial bank at that time, which is now Synovus. Miss Bush knew Mr. Bill Bullock. Mr. Bullock was the vice president of the bank. He loaned Miss Bush the money for Mr. Inman and co-signed the note. He paid it back and established himself as a commercial bank. During that time, I was scuffing, trying to get off the ground. It wasn't on him, man. You got the wrong couple of bars. Anyway, through Mr. Inman, by him getting started in the bank, he encouraged me politically and along the way. He and I got to be real good friends. But back to my Detroit story, funeral homes in Detroit were very energetic and did a whole lot of publicity. And if I take back the comments, that's why helped me get off the ground quick. The guy that I worked for, he didn't believe in newspapers. And him and I got together, big funerals I had, he'd be there to take my picture, have it on the front page of the paper, and sometimes I was tight, I couldn't pay him, but I eventually paid him. And he had built me in the city of Thompson and surrounding area. And I operated my funeral for 56 years. I just sold it about 2 years ago. And politically, he helped me politically a whole lot. I saw what he was doing politically. I wanted to do some of the things that he was doing. And I got elected to Thomasville City Commission and served for 16 years. I also got involved in Inman and governors and George Busby and Lester Madison and several others running for governor. We supported George Busby. I had the opportunity to be the second black funeral director in the state of Georgia, to be appointed to the Georgia State Board of Funeral Service. I was appointed by several other governors to many other positions, all because of Mr. Inman. He talked to me, we talked, we had a good time. He was in Thomasville, and I was in the Atlanta area. I visited with him quite a bit. And I would like to say thank you for inviting me to be a part of the program. I have, about 25 years ago, I started an archive, and somebody had mentioned, here's D.L. Inman with President Johnson.
Yeah.
And I had some of his old newspapers in my collection. Here's one where this gentleman right here was Bill Myers. He was the first black to get elected on the Thomasville Board of Education. And there are several others that we have a collection of. And I really thank you, Mr. Inman, for inviting me to be a part of it.
Okay, thank all of you. It's my turn now to give some comments on my brothers. Now, we grew up on a farm. My father was a sharecropper. I don't know if y'all know what a sharecropper is, but he was a sharecropper. We grew up on a farm. And my brother and I, Daniel, was not as close as you expect a big brother to be, because I guess it was probably age different. But it was Sam and I who kind of run around together and did things together. But anyway, I'm gonna give you some little things about things. Okay, when he was a teenager, I guess around 15, 16, something like that. You know, only way we had to get around was to either get in the mule and the wagon, or we walked. So mostly we walked. So now he told me, well, Thomas, you know, when you get out there walking, you have to know how to use your thumb. So he used to thumb a ride and go everywhere. Okay, now, Daddy bought a car. Later on, I guess the car he was in the 50s, mid-50s, something like that. 1949 or 48 Buick. I can see it right now. Black, big black. So he came home on a Saturday afternoon, and Daddy told Dan, he said, look, you don't have to walk anymore now, boy, I bought a car. He said, do you know how to drive? He didn't know nothing about driving. I'm telling you that. He just came down off the porch, jumped in the car, started it up, put it in gear, wham! Hit the gas, and the car threw up, dusted up, just took off. So the chickens in the yard, they started flying everywhere. Mule down in the barn, he saw him coming, they never seen a car before. They was hardly thought they was gonna come this way. And look, he just went around the barn where the mules was, went through the cornfield, took out 5 or 6 rows of corn rows,
Came back around the house, and Mama had a milk cow. I think it was a milk cow. The cow saw her coming, he came around the barn, back up to the house, stopped on the brakes like that, and then stopped right quick. Oh, I forgot to tell you this, when he was going down there, Mama was hollering, oh, there! He run around the barn, and he came back to the back porch. We stand on the back porch. He hit the brakes and stopped and jumped out of the car, went out. Now, he didn't know nothing about how to drive. I don't know how he learned how to drive. He must have learned how to drive from his friends or something like that. Okay, so later on, he went on and he bought a car. It was a 4950 Ford Coupe. So he bought that car, and that's when he started went around selling insurance. Is selling or buying, whatever the reason. He went around selling insurance. So now he had entered some kind of a contest, and he won a bike. And this bike was a pretty bike, red and white bike. Sam and I rode that bike when he was gone. We rode that bike and enjoyed it. I always wanted a bike. I always wanted a bike, but my mother and father could not afford such extra, They couldn't afford that, but we rode that bike. Lo and behold, he sold the bike. That made me so mad with him. We got so mad. Why did he have to sell the bike? And we thought, being children, we just thought that he sold the bike just to keep them up from riding. That probably was not the cause, but that's what we thought. We thought he sold the bike because to keep us from riding. All right. Went on a little while later. He had a dog. And the dog was named, what was it, Fido?
Mac.
Mac came from Fido, I think it was. Anyway, the dog had some puppies. He had 2 puppies. He kept one, I think that was Mac. I think he kept a puppy. And there was a guy, a white guy, he was sharecropping with the same man that we were. And he came and he wanted one of the dogs. So they traded the dog. He gave Dan a pig for the dog. So they traded the dog, that was the trade, the pig for the puppy. All right, Daddy had some kids. He just threw that pig in with the rest of them, right? As time went along, the pig grew, got fat. And I think Dad slaughtered the pig, didn't he? He slaughtered the pig. Oh, he got so mad. That's my pig. Why you had to do that? He got mad because Dad had slaughtered the pig. All right, now, going on. Years later, after he had graduated from high school, graduated from high school, that was when he bought a car and all that. But anyway, when I graduated, I left home. My brother-in-law, Mara, had his husband. He school teacher. So he was out of school for summer. He went to Columbus, South Carolina. He was working there. So when he got ready to leave, he told me, he said, I can speak to my boss. And you can probably get my job. So I said, okay, that's fine. So that's what happened. So I took off, went to South Carolina. And then while I was there, I used to write Mama once or twice a month, something like that. I used to write Mama. But then the guy I was staying with, him and his wife, I was renting a room from them. So he went to New York to visit his uncle. About a week, so he came back. He said, oh man, I love New York. I'm going to New York. Would you like to go? I said, yeah, I'd like to go. So we went to New York, Brooklyn, New York. So anyway, when I got to New York, I didn't write Mom as much as I had been writing. And so Mama told Danny, oh, that boy's up there in New York. I don't know, I haven't heard from him. He usually write me once or twice a month, and I don't know what he's doing up there. And now I don't know what happened. But anyway, I was sitting out in the house one night, one evening, came from work, playing with my daughter, Michelle. I was sitting there on the door, Liz in the kitchen, she was cooking. The doorbell rang. And so I was wondering who's at the door. So I went to the door, guess who it was? And so I was surprised to see him because I thought he was there, get some news for the newspaper. I said, what you doing here? He said, I come looking for you. I said, you looking for me? And that moment was really the first time I felt like I had a big brother. Then I said, you come looking for me? You came all the way from Thomasville, Georgia to come up and look for me? He said, yeah, I came looking for you because Mama was worried about you because she hadn't heard from you. But anyway, at that time, that was one of the real times that I felt like I had a big brother. Now he came all the way from Thomasville, Georgia, all the way up to Brooklyn, New York to look for me. So that's what I felt like, I really had a big brother. So that kind of like bonded us together, that little time right there. And so from then on, we kind of communicated on and off with that. Okay, now the next time I was proud of him is when he was in the newspaper business. He was in the newspaper business and a whole lot of stuff was going on in the 60s. Some of y'all maybe was little children and don't remember it. But a lot of, older people remember a whole lot of stuff was going on. With Martin Luther King marching in Birmingham with the dogs in the fire hole. They locked him up in the Birmingham jail. He wrote that speech, I Have a Dream, from the Birmingham jail. And all that stuff was going on. And President Kennedy was president. He was assassinated in Memphis. Lyndon Baines Johnson, vice president. He became president. He was flying in this plane, y'all may not know, but the president and vice president not supposed to travel together. So that's why you have Air Force One, Air Force Two. So anyway, he was flying and they called him and told him that the president had been killed, assassinated. So they made him president right up in the air. He became president. And anyway, along with that, all this other stuff was going on. Kennedy was working on the desegregation of all this stuff, marching, all this stuff was going on. He was working on that. After he was assassinated, then Johnson came in and said he's going to continue everything that Kennedy was doing. He's going to continue doing that. And I got to add this to it. Along that time, George, what's that man's name?
Wallace.
George Wallace. George Wallace was the governor of Alabama. And some of y'all may not know this, but now you're going to know it. George Wallace stood in the doors of the University of Alabama. He stood in the doors of the University of Alabama. And this is the word I'm quoting. No nigger is going to go into this school. Segregation now and segregation forever. That's what he said. Now, Lyndon Baines Johnson was president. Robert Kennedy was the Attorney General. He told Robert Kennedy, look, there was two black children trying to get into the University of Alabama. And somewhere or another, that's still in my mind, that's why I came root for Alabama. That's still in my mind when I see Alabama. But with two black children trying to get into the University of Alabama. I'm saying this because my brother, he covered all this in the newspaper.
Yes.
But he says it's Black History Month, and this might be a good thing to bring out. But anyway, so he told Robert Kennedy, you got to go down get them children in that school at any cost. That's what he said, at any cost. So Kennedy, he called the National Guard in Alabama and told them, said, look, go down there, the president said, get them children in that school at any cost. Now, National Guard was Governor Wallace's troops or whatever. But anyway, they stood up there and said, we got a message from the Attorney General. Said that the president said, get these children in this school at any cost. He had to back down. They escorted those black children into that school. That was the first time black children ever been into the University of Alabama. That's history. And that's what happened. I'm saying this because at that time, my brother, he printed all this in this newspaper.
Yes.
All this is in the newspaper. And then what made me another pride of him, when he went to get some news for the newspaper, he interviewed the president of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson. That's when you see him shaking the hand. And I was so proud of that.
Yes, sir.
And I used to try to kid my friend and say, my brother had dinner with the president of the United States. Of course he didn't, but if they had it to die, I'm sure. But I was really proud of him to do that. And the thing now, y'all think about it. During the 60s when all this stuff was going on, during the 60s, a black man
Yeah.
shook the hand of the president of the United States.
Yeah.
And that that's designed for dignitaries, heads of states, and stuff like that. Here is an old boy from the farm, walked behind mules, picked cotton, did all the things on the farm, shaking hands with the president of the United States. And I was really proud of that boy when that happened. I was really, and that was 2 times when he came to book, when he came up with and at that time when I saw him, he shook the hand of the president. Man, I was proud of that boy. And that was 2 times I really was proud of him, for doing those things. And there's some other things I won't go into. Well, anyway, that was some proud moments that I had of him when at that time when he did those things. Okay, see. Okay, like I said, some of you was not even born during that time. And if you were born, you lived with church. And you don't know anything about it. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this now for all of you here. And like I said before, this is Black History Month. But I'm going to say this for all of you. When Texas was fighting for their right to become a state, and they become an independent state, and Texas was fighting for the right, and they were fighting the Mexicans and everything, and the Mexicans just killed all of them, just wiped out all of them at the Alamo, and they coined a phrase when they was fighting. They said, "Remember the Alamo." Every time they fight and do something, they say, "Remember the Alamo." So I'm gonna say to y'all, whether this is, whether I'm coining this phrase or whether it already been coined, I'm gonna say, remember the civil rights movement.
Okay.
Tell your children's children, and remember it forever. Because if you don't remember it, you are subject to repeat the past.
Amen.
So remember that. Okay, with that, now we're going to have a prayer from my nephew, John Maurice. Oh, the video. Okay, now, what did Dodie say? You gonna follow? Oh, he had to get the information from the boss.
I don't know how to follow that. He's just as bad as my father. We're gonna show the video during dinner, but, we wanted to thank everybody that's online. Thank you so much, those of you, can see, thank you online, appreciate everyone. And, wanted to thank the entire Inman family, not just those who are visiting, but the entire Inman family. We want to thank you for your prayers, visits, comforting messages, phone calls, gifts, and acts of kindness, and all the expressions of love that was shown to us during our period of bereavement. And definitely, please know that we love you all. So we appreciate everyone. Thank you for being here too, all of you. And my wife did tell me to say this, because he used to say it all the time, and I don't mind saying it. My father would say it, and sometimes I just would shake my head. DL is mine. I know him, and everybody should know him, because he didn't want to necessarily go by Daniel. DL. To say, keep trucking. You tell me that all the time. So, I'm trucking, but we appreciate it. Thank you to Rishka Johnson for helping us, as well as those people here with reception for us. Buffy, thank you so much for all your hard work, and we appreciate the facility.
Isn't it beautiful in here?
Thank you so much. Appreciate your help getting this thing done. It has been a struggle for all of us. So I'm gonna say a quick prayer and thank everybody so much for all your support again and all the loving, just the love that's been expressed. And then we're gonna eat something. Our Heavenly Father, Jehovah, we're approaching now. Thank you so much for this opportunity to come together as a family, friends, distant people, people from all over the world to reflect on memories and appreciation for my father. It's so important for us to remember his legacy that he established here in Thomasville, and it's something that we will take with us forever because of all the hard work that he did. He was a trailblazer. He was a person that truly was interested in people. We appreciated him and all that he did to touch our lives. But now as we reflect on the good times, but also the things that we had humorous with them, as the Thomas mentioned, help us so that we can support each other. Because right now, during these critical times, we need to support one another. We need your support too. So we're asking, begging for it, and that you've given us the great sacrifice of your son. And we thank you for that. Thank you for this food. Again, thank you for all that you've given to us. It's in the name of your son, Christ Jesus, that we petition this prayer. Amen. Okay, we're gonna eat. Buffy, how would you like everybody to start? We're gonna start with tables, right now?
Yes, we're gonna start with the family table, if you don't mind, here in the middle.
We're gonna start with the family table in the middle, so everyone can start there.
And then I'll call your table, the next family tables, we'll call you up so there's not a crowd at the tables, okay? So we're gonna start with immediate family in the middle, and then I'll call your tables after that.